Now, these aren't 100% accurate, right?
Well, you'd be surprised how accurate they are. They can tell fairly easily if someone's lying or not.
The polygraph, commonly known as the lie detector. It is used during the screening process for certain jobs, and it is used by the police during criminal investigations. Even chains like Burger King and McDonald's have used the polygraph on certain employees in the past. The examiner might ask you certain questions such as, have you violated any company policies? Have you ever taken something that didn't belong to you? Have you ever taken drugs? Do you find me attractive? No, they shouldn't ask you that last one. If they do, run. Now, have you ever wondered how it works? How can the machine tell when you're lying? Allow me to give you a brief, simplified explanation of how it works without being too technical. So they sit you down and they strap you to the machine. Which monitors and records certain physiological indicators, such as heart rate, breathing, and perspiration, while you answer a series of questions. Now, the examiner initially asks you control questions to establish a baseline for your physiological indicators. For example, is your name Bob Johnson? Yes. Is today Monday? Yes. Am I wearing a red jacket? No. So these are your normal levels of breathing, heart rate, and perspiration when you are not lying. Then they ask you the real, relevant questions, such as, did you ever steal anything from your previous employer? And the idea is, when people lie, they experience physiological changes due to the emotional stress of lying. Their heart rate might increase, their breathing might become faster or a little shallower, and they might sweat more. On the face of it, this all makes sense. However, the polygraph is actually unreliable. In fact, the American Psychological Association states that most psychologists agree that there is little evidence that polygraph tests can accurately detect lies. For example, one study showed that when innocent people were tested, more than 1/3 were judged guilty by the polygraph. And when guilty people were tested, nearly 1/4 of them were judged as innocent by the polygraph. So the error rate is unacceptably high for a method that determines guilt and innocence. This explains why the results of lie detectors are generally inadmissible in court, especially in criminal cases. It is true that when people lie, they usually experience some sort of physiological arousal, but do you know what else causes arousal? Being nervous. You could be perfectly innocent, but when the examiner asks you, have you murdered Sam Smith? No, I did not kill Sam Smith. Of course you're going to be nervous, like, oh my God, they think I killed him. I didn't. But what if they don't believe me? What if the machine says I'm lying? Am I going to jail? And your heart is going to start pounding, and you're going to sweat, and your breathing is going to become shallow, and it would be a huge mistake for the examiner to conclude that this is a lie. Are you a Russian spy? Again, even if you're innocent, the question is going to make you nervous.
And that needle's going to be going wild.
Are you a Russian spy? Niet. Wait, why am I speaking Russian? That's not helping. I don't know, I just felt nervous, man. I freaked out, I panicked. Man, I'm so confused. It is actually misleading to call the polygraph machine a lie detector. We should call it an arousal detector. When the participant provides his answer, the machine doesn't answer the question, was he lying? It answers the question, was he aroused?
Was he aroused?
Yeah, was he aroused?
So if you are innocent and you're thinking, hey, let me take the polygraph test, the machine will show that I am telling the truth and they will believe me and everything will be fine. No, now you know better. It is not advisable to volunteer for a polygraph test. It's too risky. Also, the polygraph test can be defeated by countermeasures. And this makes it even more unreliable. Some people can beat the machine.
Maybe I can beat the machine.
Who do you think you are? Costanza?
How do I beat this lie detector?
How? The test taker can artificially raise his heart rate and other physiological indicators by thinking scary and exciting thoughts, by biting his tongue, or by pricking himself with a concealed sharp object. Then when he lies on the relevant question, his heart rate and other indicators are elevated, but the levels will be close to the artificially raised levels from the control questions when they were telling the truth. So the examiner will conclude that, these rates seem normal. They match the rates when he was telling the truth, so, yep, he's telling the truth now. Smart. The CIA and other US agencies have spent millions of dollars testing thousands of employees. Yet, in an earlier report, the United States National Academy of Science reported that no spy has ever been caught using the polygraph test. There are documented cases where Americans have conducted espionage while successfully passing polygraph tests. To me, polygraphs are not only unreliable, I also have other issues with them. Like, am I the only one who finds polygraphs to be insulting when used in a business setting? It's like the employer is telling you, yeah, we don't trust you. We think you might be lying. Let us hook you up to this machine to determine if you're a big fat liar. Please. It's very demeaning, especially when used in a business setting. I mean, in a criminal investigation, you shouldn't be insulted. It's like, officer, this is insulting. Are you suggesting that I might be a liar? Sir, I'm suggesting that you might be a murderer. So being labeled as a potential liar should be the least of your worries right now. I also think that polygraph tests are an invasion of privacy. It's like going through someone's phone to determine whether or not they're lying. But here, instead of going through your phone, they're going through your body and checking your physiological changes. Some employers argue that it is okay to violate the employee's privacy and it's okay if they feel insulted because this is outweighed by the company's interest in protecting itself from untrustworthy employees. Well, yeah, but remember, the test is invalid and unreliable. So it's not really protecting the company from anything. So using the test is unjustified. So is the polygraph test totally useless? Well, not really. It still has some utility. For example, it might be effective at eliciting confessions from suspects during criminal investigations. These are my confessions. Because some might think, if I lie to the police, they will catch me with the machine. Maybe I should just tell the truth and cooperate, and then they'll give me a reduced sentence. So the machine can be effective at scaring suspects into confessing. Also, while the standard method of using the polygraph test is unreliable, there is a better method that has a higher reliability. It is called the Concealed Information Test, CIT, also known as the Guilty Knowledge Test, and it is commonly used in Japan. It's a polygraph technique designed to detect a suspect's guilty knowledge of a crime. The police would ask questions about salient information that only they and the criminal would know. Imagine this scenario. An Asian woman is tied up using duct tape, and then she's murdered with a blow to the head using a red hammer. Then her body is buried in the forest. Apologies for using such a dark example, but in a moment you'll understand why I'm giving you all these details. The police bring in the suspect and they strap him up to the polygraph machine and administer the Concealed Information Test, the CIT. Have you committed a murder? No. Have you murdered a white, Caucasian woman? No. Have you murdered an Indian woman? No. Have you murdered an Asian woman? No. Have you murdered a Hispanic woman? No. Notice when the examiner said Asian woman, the suspect's reaction was stronger. That's very suspicious. Did you restrain her using a rope? No. Did you restrain her using duct tape? No. Did you restrain her using a chain? No. Again, notice when the suspect heard duct tape, he was triggered. Did you murder her with a handgun? No. Did you strangle her? No. Did you murder her with a blue baseball bat? No. Did you murder her with a red hammer? No. Did you murder her with a knife? No. Again, the suspect was very nervous when he heard red hammer. Did you dispose of the body in the river? No. Did you hide the body in a large trash can? No. Did you bury the body in the forest? No. Again, the suspect was triggered when he heard the word forest. The idea is only the criminal would have this knowledge and would react to these keywords. And indeed, studies show that this CIT method is more effective than the standard polygraph method. So to recap, generally speaking, polygraphs are unreliable and invalid and should not be trusted. They are also insulting and a violation of privacy. Should we use the polygraph at work? No. Should you use it on your spouse? No. That'd be fun though. Should we use it in criminal investigations? Yes, in certain cases, but only to elicit confessions and to gain certain insights using the CIT method. But even then, the CIT results should not be used as conclusive evidence for guilt or innocence. It should be used to point the police in the right direction and to prioritize the investigation of suspects who failed the test. I hope you found this topic as interesting as I did. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and see you next time. Was he aroused? Yeah, was he aroused? you.